All right, let's get right into it. We are going to completely deconstruct one of the most legendary sounds in all of modern metal. You know the one, that incredibly smooth, singing, totally saturated lead guitar tone. We're going to lay out the exact blueprint for how it's built, piece by piece.
I mean, it's literally called the legendary liquid lead tone for a reason. This is the sound you've heard on so many iconic records, pretty much perfected by guitar gods like John Petrucci of Dream Theater. It's a tone that didn't just show up, it basically defined an entire genre.
But this brings us to the big mystery, right? The central question. How in the world can a guitar tone be absolutely dripping with gain, with sustain that goes on for days, but you can still hear every single note with perfect, crystal clarity? Well, that's the puzzle we're about to solve.
And to solve it, you need a plan. You need a blueprint. See, every great sound is built on a rock-solid foundation. And for guitar, that foundation is the signal path. It's the exact order of effects that carves out the final tone.
And here it is. This is the architectural map for the whole thing. It all starts with the guitar, obviously, then flows into a compressor, a drive pedal, the amplifier, and then finally we add all that spacey goodness with delay and reverb. Getting this order right, well, it's not just important, it's everything.
So let's zoom in on our first component. We're starting with compression, or as I like to call it, the squeeze. This little box is the secret weapon for engineering that smooth, consistent sustain that is the absolute hallmark of this liquid tone.
So what is a compressor actually doing? You can think of it like a super fast automatic volume knob. It takes the quiet notes and makes them a little louder, and it takes the really loud peaky notes and brings them down a bit. It basically reduces the gap between the loudest and quietest parts of your playing. This is what keeps any of your notes from getting lost in the mix or from jumping out and sounding harsh.
And this visual just says it all, doesn't it? On the left, that's your raw guitar signal. It's all jagged and spiky, super dynamic. But look at the right. After compression, that same signal is smooth, it's rounded, it's even. This is exactly where that liquid quality really starts to take shape. We're essentially taming all that raw energy into a controlled, flowing wave of pure sound.
Now for the magic number you need for our blueprint. A ratio of 4:1 is really the sweet spot here. What that means is, for every 4 decibels of volume that tries to go past the limit you set, the compressor only lets 1 decibel through. It's just enough muscle to give you that seemingly endless sustain, but it's gentle enough that it doesn't just squash all the life and dynamics out of your playing.
Okay, so our dynamics are now totally under control. That means we can move on to the absolute heart of the tone, the amplifier. This is where we're going to craft that perfect, delicate balance between heavy saturation and that crystal clear note definition.
And let's be honest, when we talk about this specific tone, we are almost always talking about one legendary amplifier, the Mesa Boogie Mark II C+. It is, without a doubt, the undisputed king of the liquid lead sound. Its sonic DNA it's baked into this entire style of playing.
You know what's so cool? Even the amp's own manual doesn't use super technical jargon. It describes the sound as creamy, vocal, and singing. Those aren't engineering terms, they're emotional descriptive words. And that's exactly what we're chasing, a lead tone that feels less like an instrument and more like a human voice.
So how do you get that vocal quality? Well, here's the secret sauce. It's a really powerful boost in the high-mid frequencies. We're talking specifically about the range between about 1.5 and 2.2 kilohertz. That frequency range is where the human ear is most sensitive, and it's the magic spot that lets a guitar just slice through a dense wall of bass and drums. This is what makes the guitar sing.
And here they are, the settings, the absolute core of our blueprint. Let's call this the Petrucci baseline. First, gain is on 6. That's plenty of saturation, but it's not so crazy that we lose clarity. The bass is actually pulled back a little, to 5, and that keeps the low end from getting muddy. And here's the most important part. The mids and treble are both pushed up to 7. That's what gives us that signature vocal cut. Finally, presence at 6 adds just the right amount of top-end sparkle and attack. This is your starting point, right here.
So our tone is now perfectly compressed and distorted. But right now, it's super dry. It's very one-dimensional. So the final pillar of our sound is creating space. This is how we take that core tone and give it that huge, professional, almost stadium-like feel.
And we do that with delay. Now, on the surface, a delay pedal just makes echoes of your signal. Simple enough. But in modern metal production, it's so much more than that. It's a tool that we use to build an immersive texture, to add that final professional polish, and to make a single guitar sound absolutely massive.
So the first key number for our blueprint is the timing. You want to start with a delay time of 400 milliseconds. This is just a fantastic all-around setting for solos. It's slow enough to really create that sense of space, but it's also fast enough that the echoes don't start stepping all over the next notes you're trying to play.
Next, you've got to control how many echoes you hear, and we do that with the feedback knob. A great place to start is around 30%. This gives you a few audible repeats that create this beautiful, lush tail behind every note, but they also fade out quickly enough to keep your mix from turning into a chaotic, muddy mess.
And now for the pro move, you gotta go wide. Instead of a basic mono delay, you want to use a stereo or a ping-pong delay. This literally makes the echoes bounce back and forth from the left speaker to the right speaker. It instantly creates this huge, three-dimensional soundscape and makes it feel like the lead guitar is completely surrounding you.
And there you have it. The three pillars of the liquid lead tone are all in place. We've got dynamic control from the compressor, saturated clarity from the amp, and that epic depth from the delay. So, let's put the complete blueprint together one last time.
Here it is, the final recipe. You've got the signal path in the right order, you've got that 4:1 compression ratio to even everything out, you've got the baseline amp settings with that critical mid boost, and you've got a stereo delay at 400 milliseconds with about 30% feedback. This is the complete formula.
But you have to remember, a blueprint is just that. It's a starting point. It's a solid foundation that's built on the lessons of the legends who came before. The real question is, now that you have the tools and you have the plan, what new legendary sound are you going to build with it?